All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the most famous and, let's be honest, controversial paranormal cases in American history. It's a story Hollywood has told 100 times, but the original version, the terrifying details of what happened over 28 days, that's what we're breaking down right now.
So, our story kicks off with a house, a pretty ordinary-looking home on Long Island that would become the setting for an absolutely extraordinary nightmare. You know those iconic windows? They almost look like eyes, and people say they've seen some truly unspeakable things.
But here's the thing. Before any of the haunting stuff, before the books and the movies, this house was already the scene of a horrific crime. A crime so brutal, it seemed to soak into the very foundation and set the stage for all the terror that was about to come. This wasn't just a tragedy. Many believe it's what seeded the property with a darkness that never, ever left.
Six members of the DeFeo family. 6 people whose lives were tragically cut short, right inside the walls of their own home.
In the dead of night, an entire family was just wiped out. The eldest son, Butch, he confessed to everything, but his defense? It was absolutely chilling. He claimed that these shadowy voices in the house made him do it, that they forced his hand. Now, the court didn't buy it for a second, and he got life in prison, but it left this horrifying question just hanging in the air. Was he just a cold-blooded killer, or was he a pawn for something truly evil living inside that house?
So for a whole year after the murders, the house just sits there, empty, a dark monument on an otherwise quiet street. But then, a new family comes along. They're looking for their dream home, and they decide to take a chance on this place.
George and Kathy Lutz, along with their 3 kids, thought they'd found an incredible bargain. I mean, it was a huge, beautiful house for a great price. Now, they knew about the murders, sure, but they didn't know the gruesome specifics. They moved in hoping for a fresh start. They would only last 28 days. And those 28 days? Well, what started as just some strange, weird occurrences quickly spiraled into a full-on paranormal assault, an attack that would literally drive them from their home and turn their dream of a new life into a waking nightmare they couldn't escape.
I mean, right from day one, the family knew something was deeply wrong. They were hit with this bitter, bone-chilling cold that no heater could fix. There was this sickening smell that just wouldn't go away no matter how much they cleaned. And then came the doors and windows opening and closing by themselves, objects moving around. The house itself seemed to be turning against them.
And that's when things started to get personal. Really personal. Their youngest daughter, Missy, starts talking about her new imaginary friend, Jody. Now, for a 5-year-old, that's pretty normal, right? But Missy's descriptions of Jody as a pig-like creature with glowing red eyes, well, that deeply concerned her parents. This was definitely not a normal childhood fantasy.
And it wasn't just imaginary friends. The family started seeing things, horrifying things. One night, their son Daniel was in the bathroom washing his hands, and he saw a figure standing right next to him in the mirror. He later said it didn't look human at all.
So you can see how the terror just built, day after day. It moved from just a creepy feeling to what felt like a full-scale invasion. It started with whispers and footsteps. Then, Kathy actually saw the apparition of a child. By the 3rd week, they felt completely surrounded by hostile forces. The psychological toll must have been immense, being trapped in a home that was actively trying to tear them apart.
And that final night, it was so bad that their escape was just pure panic. I mean, think about it. They left everything. The lights were on, all their valuables, everything was just abandoned. They literally ran for their lives and never, ever went back. That alone tells you just how horrific that last night must have been.
After the Lutzes fled, their story gets out, and it catches the attention of some very famous people in the paranormal world, Ed and Lorraine Warren. And yeah, if that name sounds familiar, it's because these are the same people whose case files would later inspire the Conjuring franchise.
Now, the Warrens didn't just rush in believing everything. They were professionals, right? So they were skeptical. They had to consider the very real possibility that the family was just making it all up for money or for fame. In their line of work, you need proof to separate a real haunting from an elaborate hoax.
But once they actually got inside 112 Ocean Avenue, that skepticism, it completely evaporated. They came to the conclusion that the Lutzes were telling the absolute truth, and that the house was host to a powerful, evil force that was directly tied to its violent past.
So their team just covered the house in cameras, and one of them caught this. This is probably one of the most famous paranormal photos ever taken. It looks like a little boy peeking out of a doorway, and many believe it's the ghost of one of the murdered DeFeo children. But it wasn't just the picture. Lorraine Warren, who was a clairvoyant, said she was completely overcome by a demonic presence. Their audio recorders picked up what sounded like disembodied voices. For them, it was overwhelming proof.
You know, the Warrens actually recommended that the house be restricted, that no one should live there. But that advice wasn't followed, not even close. Instead, the story of the Lutz family just exploded, turning this private trauma into a global phenomenon and basically creating the modern haunted house genre that we still see today.
And what's really interesting is that the pattern of fear seemed to just continue. Another family moved in a few years after the Lutzes, and they fled after only 15 days. They reported similar terrifying experiences, including seeing the spirit of a little girl. Maybe it's no surprise the current owners refused to talk to any media.
But here's the wild part. Despite its horrific past, its haunted reputation, and the countless books and movies based on it, the house was sold again just recently for over $1.4 million. It's this strange intersection of prime real estate and, I guess, dark tourism.
And that brings the whole story back to this chillingly real place, leaving us with one final question. Can you ever really erase the memories and the spirits that are ingrained in the very walls of a place like 112 Ocean Avenue? Whether you believe it was a hoax or a true haunting, the Amityville story has become a permanent part of our culture, a modern folktale that forces us all to question what we believe about the places we call home.